Sparkle Up, Rachel joined, and she did a great discussion about how to get your mind in the right place. So we had to have her again today. Sorry, I hear myself. It's always good to have a playback of what you're saying when it's happening. That's great. A little technical difficulties as we start out. But yes, we had Rachel previously. So I'm Mariah, if you don't know.
Right. I'm Kim. I expect everybody to know who we are, but you know what? You might be
Not
joining us for
everyone
the
knows
first time.
you. So some people I invited may not know who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Kim. I'm the co-host. Thanks everybody for joining live. We really appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. So before Rachel gets on here and then, we have to then do it's all about Rachel and what she has to share with us. I wanted to talk about the march we went to last week
Yes.
because that was a big issue. Did we want to join the hands off march when so many people
Hello.
black were told to stay their black asses home? Hi,
Hi, Rachel. We were doing a
Hi.
little intro. So good to
So
see you.
sorry.
You're
So
fine. You're
sorry.
fine.
I was running a little late. I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys so much.
We're
thank
How's
so
it
happy
going?
to
you.
have you.
Yeah, you look great.
You guys look great. I haven't seen you in a
Yes,
while,
you
I feel like.
do.
I know it's been a while. So, Rach, why don't you
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
I generally introduce myself as a quantum healer and teacher because I do both. The quantum healing, it really does involve using all of my different knowledge, like psychology, and then like deeper into the spiritual and esoteric side of things, and just kind of really learning all of the different aspects that can be used, like frequency healing or
Mm.
herbalism, or just, people having a self awareness of like, because think about it, before things happen in the physical, they happen in the spiritual, but most people aren't in touch with that side of themselves, right? So I try to
Mm.
introduce people to themselves by like getting them to dig deep.
That's
Oh,
really
cool.
great. I have to note this, even though this is not about me at all. When Rachel came on last season for Sparkle Up, and I looked at the playback of my face on, I was like, oh my gosh. Sometimes you're in deep thought because when you say things, you really drop a lot of gems. Like I say that all the time. You really make people be self-reflective of where their mindfulness is at and where their mind is at in general. So this time, if I make a face and I look serious, it's because I'm in deep thought,
That
deep
is totally
reflection.
fine. Deep thought is good.
Yep. So, Mariah, why don't you introduce today's podcast, what it's about, and then we'll just get right started with Rach.
Okay, so we're going to sidebar the discussion that my aunt was having. My aunt is Kim. If you don't know, we're an auntie and niece duo. Anybody that knows us collectively know my aunt and I do a lot together. But if you know us separately, you may know us as friends from different areas of our life. But anyway, today we're really excited to talk to Rachel. As I discussed a little bit in the beginning, Rachel really spoke to us about mindfulness the last time we were on the podcast. And we always said, like, we wanted her to come back on. And this time she's going to come back on multiple times as a contributing
Yeah.
wellness advisor to the audience, to us, to help us reset and think about different things that we experience. So we thought it would be a good idea to do a little spring reset. And I find that so often in moving forward in life, we're sometimes thrown right back into our past. Like you try to take these steps to move forward, and yet all your fears tend to flood over you as you're about to journey into a new season in your life. And on top of your fears come regrets, and you start to think of all the times you've made a mistake, and they tend to limit how far you can go in your future. So I'd love to have that discussion with you, Rachel and Kim, my aunt, who I call auntie, right? About how we get past those moments that can sometimes, really stop us from achieving how far we can go in this life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because regret is really powerful. I've had some people in my life that, I've done wrong to, done some wrong to, and now that I'm a grown woman, I'm like, oh, geez. So talk to us about regret, Rach. How do we live with it so that we can extrapolate from that
Yeah.
experience a souvenir?
Yeah, so I mean, think about regret. Everyone experiences regret. I don't think there's a person on this planet who doesn't have one regret throughout their life. Regrets can be like career, relationships, family regrets, your lifestyle, your diet, your all of that stuff. Regrets can be in any area of the life, and I don't think it's necessarily a requirement to have regrets to like move forward in our lives, but when we can have an identification of what the regret was, what went wrong in that time, and like kind of a self awareness of like, was it my fault, right? Because we're not in control of everything. So, first identify, is it in our control? Is it not in our control? Is it something we're reacting to? How do we change for the next time the same thing or something similar happens so that we can focus on having a different reaction, right? Because life is all about, it's not what happens to us, it's how we react to things. So you like to look at it as life is happening for us, not to us. So each regret can be used as a lesson to push us, like when you used to swim in the pool and you would kick your feet off the wall to get a head start, use those regrets as a lesson to push off the side of the pool, because people who don't use those regrets as lessons, they tend to be in cycles where they make the same mistakes and regrets over and over. And these are the people who are 50, 60, 70, and they've never self actualized. They don't even know what that looks like for them. Um, and it's really just about how you frame and perceive your regrets. Because if you're just like the type of person who's just like in a victim mindset and it's like, oh, this happened to me and this happened to me. And we know so many people like that, right? But they truly believe that that's all that's there for them. So that's why they can't get out of the victim mindset. And, some of the stuff is out of our control, but it comes with identifying what can we control, what can we change, and what can we not. You have to identify there's like an energy imbalance somewhere, right? If there's regret, 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 like something's going wrong. So it's like
Right.
have a vision, be clear about what you want, take actions, close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And how you do that is like taking everyday actions, right? And making your mind kind of tunnel vision on your successes, but not being hyper fixated on your failures. People who are successful have failed more times than you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all know people who are very successful, and we may not know the ins and outs of how they got where they are. But I'm telling you, people who are successful have failed more times than you know. And it's really important that like you work through the feelings of the regrets, right? That was another kind of topic you and I were we were kind of discussing was the trauma thing.
Yes.
So trauma does get stored in the body. Movement, like exercise, meditation, super important. This is how we can kind of like work them out of the body and also not let it manifest as fear. Because if we keep the trauma in the body, right, what happens is it manifests in a fear of a future decision making progress. So, like,
Mm.
our past decisions and experiences, sometimes they can prevent us from believing that we could have a better time next time or a more successful experience. Like, say, if you had three boyfriends or three husbands and they were just like all terrible, you're probably not going to get a fourth husband because you're like, at this point,
Right.
but that's you don't want to get stuck. And that could be jobs, that could be friends, that could be
Yeah.
makeovers, like
Yeah.
whatever. But it's a point of saying, I will not give up. Having faith, just like whether it's religion or if it's spiritual faith, faith within yourself, having faith in knowing that like there is something better for you and you are going to get there. Establish what your vision is. Be clear on
Right.
what you want and what you don't want. You'll close the gap and like love yourself enough to let go of the victim mentality because that's the first step is believing I can. If you believe you can, it's true. If you believe you can't, it's true. right?
I think,
Right,
yeah,
right, yeah.
I
Go ahead,
think,
Mariah.
sorry, real quick. I think that's such a good point because when you think about the presence of trauma, right, and all the different forms it comes in, trauma kind of informs you, I feel like, in some ways, as to, not going to do that. It's kind of like when you're a kid and they say to you, if you put your hand on the stove, you're going to get burned if the burner's hot. And you keep playing with fire and you
Mhm.
keep playing with fire and then you do it and then you're like, oh, never again.
And that's
And
100% right, Mariah, because it's actually wiring the neurons in your brain to go through the patterns. It's literally the same thing as an
wow,
automatic behavior. So like you put your finger on the stove, you snatch it right back. It's like emotionally we have these same connections, but people don't really bridge that connection and say like, "Oh, okay, I'm it's hard for me to make friends cuz every friend I ever had was shitty to me." But
Mm.
you're sitting there not realizing
right,
that
that your
you're at the
brain,
party, not being social, thinking to yourself, "I'm not going to be friends with her cuz she looked like she a snake." Or look at him, he looked like, and it's like you're probably having some kind of limiting beliefs that's pushing you, right? Because we want to believe our like self-verifying beliefs, like what
Yeah.
we
yeah,
already believe we want to continue to believe because it's comfortable. And
Right, right.
humans are routine creatures. We like cycles, we like the same thing over and over. Change isn't always the easiest thing for us, you know um
Right. I
but
I was if I could just interrupt one for one
yeah.
second. You were saying something that I really want everybody to listen to and not just gloss over, right? Because when you're listening, you're hearing so many different things, so much stimuli. You said to that I think what you said that I think is really powerful is that when we live in a victim mentality and when we're living with regret as, we're victimized
As your
by
whole
it.
personality, right? Because
right.
they tune in to be that, right?
Right, your whole personality, right. It can create trauma in the body. And
Absolutely.
to that point, I was listening to Karen Hunter this week, and she had on a guest, Dr. Patton. Forgive me, I can't remember her first name, but Karen Hunter is on Sirius XM. Oh gosh, what is that? There's this whole show that they do, like this whole series of show. We've got Clay Kane, but anyway, Karen Hunter, Dr. Patton. So, anyway, she was talking about trauma and how it's stored in the body. And she
Yes.
said it's stored in sperm, it's stored in eggs, in our eggs. And like Karen brought up, wait a minute. So, as women, we're born with all the eggs we're going to get.
Yes.
And that trauma gets stored in our eggs and we pass it
Yes.
along to our children.
And this is where ancestral trauma comes from. So, a
Wow.
lot of times we think that families repeat the same cycles because, well, mom did this, so daughter does this, so granddaughter does this. But it's a
Mm.
lot deeper than that because this is embedded into our DNA. And a lot of times, I believe we all have came here with our own individual missions, and a lot of times, like the person who was supposed to break the generational curses and change the bloodline, like they couldn't live up to their mission because there was too much trauma or whatever. So then
Mm.
sometimes it's like the generation after that, but eventually there's one person who, when you have like a successful bloodline, breaks that. And identifying it is the first thing. Like we've all seen unhealthy families. Statistics say as many as 85% of families are dysfunctional.
Wow.
And that's not really surprising, I guess, nowadays, right? But like in terms of just working through regret, you
Yeah.
want to make sure that your routines are aligning with your purpose and your outcome. That's the main thing because when you are truly doing your best to make progress, you know that. No one else can judge that. Only God can judge you, the source, the universe, but only you and the universe and God know, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And I truly
Yeah.
believe that when we're here and there is no energy imbalance to know like what we're supposed to be doing, like we've identified, this is my purpose, this is what I'm here for, and just focusing on that. And for the people who don't know what their purpose is or they feel that they're not sure, you need to explore that. And it starts with exploring the things that interested you in childhood.
Ooh.
So the things that
Oh,
gave us
so one way
in
we can heal
childhood.
from regret is to explore the things that we used to explore when we were in
The
childhood.
joy,
That's
like the things that brought us
wow.
joy, right? Because being a child, everybody says, oh, to be a kid again. Being a kid is just being present. And a lot of adults struggle to do that. Be
Yes.
present in your daily routines. And, you know, when you think back, like, oh, I used to love to paint, or I
Yeah.
used to love to go on nature walks and find bugs or something. Like, there's got to be a connect between you and what you do, because a lot of people become inherently mentally or physically sick because they're in a career that they is like the opposite of what they should be doing.
And I think like as you age, you there's conformity too. I think that's a thing too.
Yes.
You begin to realize the older you get, I can't do this, or if I say this, or if I'm this way, people will put me in this particular box. So you begin to start to develop yourself around the environments that you're in so that you're more acceptable, more palatable to other people. And you start to lose that sense of self. I mean, I remember being in college and having people say to me, "Oh my gosh, this is the time of your life. Enjoy it. You're not going to experience this again." And I was so stressed out in college. I think that's when I started recognizing something in my life needed to change, because I remember in undergrad, they had some session. It was like around probably finals. And they did a stress test. And my stress test was at its limit. And I remember kind of bragging about it and being like, "Hey, I'm really stressed out. Like, it's because I'm studying so much, you know? Am I getting the grades?" And then I like knew it was unhealthy, but then I really started to see the manifestation of the unhealthiness as I started to mature. And it really limited my ability to make certain decisions later on because I was so stressed out and I didn't know how to manage my life. So the time of my life that should have been spent exploring more and really developing myself more was a time in my life where I was trying to shield myself from things that
Yeah.
could come at me.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes
So
a lot of sense.
so what do we do, Rachel, when we have this recurring regret
Hmm.
and maybe we're in therapy, whatever, we're trying to work it out, but it just keeps coming
Coming back.
back.
Okay. Well, here's a few steps. These are like my good steps that I apply to regret for people. I think that um, a main thing is letting go of the perceptions of others. And for some people, that's very hard, right? Look at how your life looks only to you. It doesn't matter if it's your teacher, your
Mm,
husband, your, you know, whatever. Let go. Or even if it's just social media, like some people have a hard time with social media stuff. Let go of that, because when you let go of these kinds of perceptions, you really start believing that you're great, right? There's always going to be people who want to bring you down or make you feel like less, but no one who's doing better than you will ever try to criticize you, if you've ever noticed that, right?
mm,
So it's only people who are doing worse who will try to talk about anybody else, because people who are, what we think about, what we speak about is what we bring about. And people who are successful, they are talking about ideas and, you know, business and doing things and self progress, whereas people who are not doing that, they're talking about other people who are doing that, right? So if the regret keeps coming back, it's like, number one, find yourself grounded in faith. Know that you're doing your best. Sometimes we can't have the faith because we know we're not doing our best. We know we're not getting up
mm.
every day, exercising, getting our sunlight, taking our supplements, meditating, uh, having an alkaline diet, you know, whatever the self care opportunities are, they need to be embedded in your life. Journaling, therapy, whatever it is, but like diving into self so you know yourself. And a lot of that comes with um, isolation and taking the time to be by yourself. Take 6 months to be by yourself. Don't do anything, you know? People will say, oh, that sounds like, you know, so crazy, but you would be astounded at how much self knowledge that you acquire by spending time alone and just be sitting with yourself, sitting in silence. I don't think anybody who's an adult can name the last time that they said, I sat in silence for 24 hours and I didn't do anything.
Mm.
That's rare, right? But like these monks and all these highly ascended people who have the spiritual knowledge, this is the things that they're doing. So
Yes.
that's not the only, like, that's, it's piece by piece. You have to build on what you really want and where you did go wrong. Some people won't say,
Mm.
like, say a guy who like cheats on all his wives, and then when he's 60 he says, I don't know what the problem is, they just all ghost me or something. And
Mm.
it's like, if you don't have the self-awareness to know that you cheated, you cheated, you cheated, you cheated, you cheated, well then you can't ascend. Because before things are physical, they are spiritual and they are energetic. So if you're energetically thinking you don't know where you went wrong, well then how would you know that, how would you make progress? It's like if your teacher gave you back a failed math test and said, "Now take it again. We're not going to go over what you got wrong. Guess, figure it out."
You're right.
Right.
You're like,
So,
where's the next?
Right, right. It's funny because there was this thought. I'm not gonna blurb out my whole life, but there was a couple of regrets that I have had that do sometimes come back, and then at the weirdest times. But what I hear you saying is, if you are on a journey to live your best life, like if you've committed
yeah.
to, okay, I've got some goals, these are the things I want to do with my life, you no longer see yourself as that person who committed those crimes. Because, like you said, those
Yes,
crimes against
forgiveness
humanity.
for self, right? It's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah. Because, like you said, you have to remember, who that person was. That was another person, but so you have to be able to distinguish and know who you are and who you are becoming. And
Yes.
and that's just a fact. That's what we have to do, guys. We have to think about, like Rachel said, we have to commit to this person that we are becoming, because we should be taking
Yes.
steps to better our lives every day, right? And to whatever goals that we've set, those once we reach those little milestones, then we can start to see ourselves as changed beings. And
Yes.
and we're like, hey, who's that person? I don't know that person who did
And
those things.
also remember, when things are bad in our lives, we will surely notice, right? But when things are good and smooth sailing, there might not necessarily be a sign. No one's going to tell you, "Hey, good job, Kim. Good job.
Right.
You did such a good job today."
Yeah.
Nobody's coming to tell us that. We have to be in charge of our control center and say, "All right, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Okay, no, I'm not. Yes, I am." And it just comes with strength in yourself, faith to believe that what's meant for you will never pass you by. All of us have a birth chart, which is our blueprint for our life. And I really encourage anybody who's not familiar with astrology to introduce themselves to, like, their birth chart, get a birth chart reading, because these are the things that, you know, we can get the clues, and it's kind of keys to us to understand why we went through what we went through. You can even understand your relationship with your parents or your children or your career stuff all through astrology. And then going further, I recently had an Akashic Records reading, right? And this is somebody who, this is like all your ancestors. So are you guys familiar with the Akashic Records?
Never
No,
heard of it.
Oh,
no.
wow. So I'm so excited. The Akashic Records, like, the easiest way to explain it is just picture if there was like a library of everything that ever happened, right? This is like ever since the universe has been created. So when you receive an Akashic Records reading, it's like your ancestors coming through to tell you, like, this is what you're doing well. Thank you for breaking this trauma. You need to do this now. You need to do that. Your mother was supposed to do this, but you're doing it because she didn't. And mine, and like, this is from a man who I did not know, right? This man who does these readings, I did not know him personally. And you know what he said to me?
What?
He's like, you are eating too much sugar. Spirit and ancestors want you to cut that sugar. And it's crazy because I've been like thinking about it and trying about it. But my main sugar is coffee. I'll have coffee with sugar like every day,
Mm.
twice a day. Like, it just seems like a lot. And he's like, Spirit says, like, you're not going to do it, but really try to cut that sugar down. He's like, your diet needs to change. Your diet, you've been struggling with it. Well, let me tell you, girl, a couple weeks ago, I had to start taking 40 milligrams of omeprazole. So this guy was right on point. He knew exactly what he was talking about. And he's basically saying, your ancestors know that you know what you're here for now. You're on your path. And it's time now to all the little gaps that you're slacking, that's where you need to step it up, right? Because then all across the board, you're going to be at the top max. And
And
so over the next
Wow.
2 years, you'll like aspire to do more. So you just want insight, right? And sometimes we meditate and we're like, where's the insight coming from? Or, but you need to meditate long, 30 minutes a day if possible at once. And you'll get that inner guidance from yourself, and then also by seeking out these intuitive readers and people who can kind of educate you about yourself, because I'm at the point now where you can tell if somebody's full of shit or if they're
Right.
genuine and they know what they're talking about, right?
Right.
yeah.
Wait,
So
tell everybody out there, Rach, where they can reach you, get in touch with you to see some of your
Yeah,
videos
that's a good
on
point.
meditation, because they are really on point.
yeah, so
Tell
I
everybody.
have a YouTube channel, and my YouTube name on my channel is just Ray, I believe, which is Raiie. I will double check, but I'm 99% sure that's what it is. I no longer have a website because I find that most people are booking by referral. Like I will work with one
Mm.
person and then they're saying, "Oh, here's my aunt and she would like to work with you," and stuff like that. So the website wasn't really necessary anymore. People are able to contact me. It is. It's Ray, so I'll try to put it up there if it can. It's just like this.
Cool.
Oh,
So if
nice.
people want to find me on YouTube, they
ARIIE.
can do that. On Instagram, it's the same, Raiie. And other than that, I haven't really been doing too much just kind of networking. I've been really working on self and trying to get stuff done. Because it's like that springtime, right? It's like the spring cleaning where we're starting to like get rid of the stuff we don't need, and inside of ourselves as well as like externally in the physical world, right? And
I
one more,
yeah.
go ahead,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, continue. I can add later.
So, so one more thing I just wanted to mention is like, I think we were talking before about how there's like a shift going on in the world, right? Where it's kind of like a 3D to a 5D shift. And like the spiritual world, the veil is kind of being lifted, and we're starting to gain a greater understanding of ourselves as humans
Mm.
and like what we've come here for. And so I wanted to kind of demonstrate to you like um, where people stand like on that like ladder, like the rungs of the ladder. In a sense, like the 3D world where we live, like this is the matrix. Like this is the matrix. The people in the matrix are, I am what I do, or I am what I have. If someone asks you who you are, that you tell them your career. That's who
Yeah.
you are, right? That's the matrix. This is people who are like stuck in like the cognitive dissonance of what they already know and can't move past that, right? These are the people who, if you introduce new ideas to them, you're like, no, they're like, no, no, and they can't have it. They're like the Agent Smiths of the Matrix. They're like the gatekeepers of the information. They're like, no, don't. Like you start talking about something that's informative. Like I'm like, I don't believe in fluoride, and somebody's like, nope, nope, fluoride's
Yeah.
great, and like they're the Agent Smith. Those are the 3D people. And then most of the people that I try to associate myself with are at least at like the 4D level. 4D is more like you understand the mind, you know about psychology, you have a depth of understanding of the knowledge that you seek about self and about others. Then as you move to like the 5D, um, that's how you can ascend past depression. Like, did you ever notice people who are in depression, they do the same thing, and that's regret and depression go hand in hand, right? Because depression, doing the same thing over and over and over and over, waking up every day doing the same thing, but thinking that it's going to get better when you're just replaying your same thing. But you got to set the scene for yourself to like use the power of now, right? Like we all know people, and that's sad to say that we can characterize this way, but it's survival of the fittest in terms of depression. Because if you have the power of now, if you have the strength of mind, if you have decided I have gone this far and I will continue to go on, and what I have now, there was times I prayed for what I have now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So keeping that inner strength, right? Even if no one else is supporting you, even if no one else is available to give you any kind of emotional relief, but deciding like the here and now, I can be what I want to be. Like how Nas said, I know I can be
I
what I
know
want.
I can be what I
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I work hard at it, I'll be where I want to be. And that's
Mhm.
what it is it's so cliche for people to say, just believe in yourself and work hard. But that's the real shit.
Yeah.
Believe it, and don't just, you know, say you believe it. Truly feel the feelings of the joy of what you would feel if you got where you wanted to be.
And I think like that's such a good point
So
about
seeing it before you actually have it.
Seeing
And
it and feeling it, because that's how we manifest. When you are manifesting, people don't just manifest by being like, I want a red Lamborghini. I want a red Lamborghini. I want a red Lamborghini. Close your eyes and see yourself in that red Lamborghini. And what does it feel like to shift that gear? And what does it feel like to go down that road? Because when you feel the feelings, the brain doesn't know the difference. The brain doesn't know if it's really happening or if you're making it up because you're experiencing it for real. And that's kind of a theta brainwave thing. Younger children, kids under 7, they are in a certain brainwave
yes.
saturation where like they believe things to be true and they can live in like
Yes.
a real experience, and they're in a cardboard box and you're like, okay, you're in a cardboard box, but to them they're like, no, this is the real race car, and da, 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 and it feels real to them. As an adult, we kind of lose that as we move into like an alpha brainwave configuration, and also we stopped daydreaming. Like we daydream, but we don't fantasize about things that we don't find to be realistic as adults. And that's the problem too, because it should all be realistic, because nothing is impossible.
nothing really is impossible. I think that's interesting what you brought up about like survival of the fittest. That's so amazing to think of it in that way when you're thinking of depression and regret. And I think why, and I could be wrong in this, but at least from personal experience, I think why regret and depression may go hand in hand sometimes it's because you feel like the regret of the mistakes are going to limit you from the progress to a new future.
Yes.
You like
And that's
you can't shift yourself out of that because you feel like you're stuck on this thing that because I didn't do this, these things
right.
can't happen.
Nothing can ever be great because this
Right.
didn't happen. And that's the thing is depression is being stuck in the past and anxiety is being too worried about the future. Whereas when you find the ability to be present, you can just practice it day by day. Like be present, get off your phone, you know, and when you feel feelings, um, really pick that apart, whether you do it with a therapist or your best friend or yourself in meditation or you journal, you write it down. Like you want to find what is the root of this. Do I need my chakras balanced? Is this an energy thing? Is this a past life situation? Is this something that I did in college that was like my greatest mistake? You know, when you know, like most people can tell you because they live in their victim mentality, they'll say, "Oh, ever since 1955, I got kicked out of the army and shit has been fucked up since." And it's like you'll know when someone has a victim mentality because they'll tell you their life story, right? And they become that and they live in that. It's like a person who has a
Right.
disease that goes around telling everybody that they have cancer. It's
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand that there might be a tidbit of emotional gain or something from sharing that with people, right? But like what we think about, we bring about. And there has been miraculous healing, curing of cancer and other ailments by quantum meditation, meaning visualization meditation 3 times a day, visualizing the body attacking the tumors. There's also been frequency healing. If we want to talk about 100,000 to 300,000 hertz, can cure many of the diseases that we see. So
And
it's just
disclaimer, sorry, real quick disclaimer. If you have cancer and you're listening to this, please don't like not seek a
disclaimer, we are not
medical
giving any
professional.
medical advice. This is for entertainment purposes
Right,
only.
right,
Right.
please. Because
Yeah.
sometimes people they don't understand the balance of like part of what you're going through when you are going through those hard battles are the mindset, right? You're in a dark place. So just use wisdom. And if you don't have wisdom, talk to people who you feel you can trust to help you make the correct choices.
Right.
Yeah, and whether you're dealing with regret or disease or depression, physical, mental, spiritual, remember that every day is a new day. It is a new opportunity for you to
Right.
have a new chance to make a new life. So it's like, forget the sorrows of yesterday, let the pain of yesterday go, because there's not a single person who doesn't have a regret. So we all can find the humanity in that and knowing that we all have regrets, but some of it might have been caused by us, some of it might have been caused by others, and all we can do is have our brain be at a mentally healthy place to handle these things because they're not going to stop coming at us, right? Like life is going to happen either way, and it's about how you handle the big wins or the big losses or the small wins or the small losses that determines, like your ability to cope.
I
Right. That
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense, Rach, when you say that, how you've got to be mentally fit, to deal with what's coming at you. Mrs. Obama, there was I guess she was on a podcast. I don't really know. It was like an Instagram reel that came up where she was alluding to that. When you're getting married, when you're choosing a partner, you know, uh, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So, that is kind of the same thing I think rule applies here. You really need to get mentally fit, clear out the junk, connect with the ancestors. Connecting with the
And
ancestors is a
connecting with
really
nature also.
connecting with nature. I hear that. Like, sometimes I have said, okay, I'm not going to church today because I'm going to walk in nature and
Right.
I'm going to experience nature. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. But that connecting with your ancestors is so important.
It is.
It's not just a brown people thing. So I'm so glad you brought that up because we do need to remember that life goes on. We are a continuum, right? We're it's not just these people lived and they're dead and they don't
Right.
live through us.
Right. Because they
One
do.
time Mariah and I were in Barnes and Noble, and we had our own little acacia reading from this Jewish woman.
Yes.
She walked up to
Love that.
us and she said, okay, she said to me, your ancestors want to know what's taking you so long.
Ooh, girl, you got to finish that book.
Yes.
Right.
You got to
Right.
finish the book.
Exactly. And so I was like, oh my God, okay, I got to do this. I got to work this out. And we were talking to her about the podcast, and she said, build it. The people
Yes.
will come. Build
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And so we really do have to get ourselves mentally fit because there's always a dark energy force. That dark energy force is always going to come against you,
Absolutely.
right?
And that's when the devil will come, right? When you're about to make the biggest progress, when you're about to hit the goal. And I think sometimes the universe is testing us. Are you stupid enough to fall for this again? Or are you going to progress this time? You got to
And you
think.
don't want to be around that bush multiple times. I think like that's the biggest thing. Cuz how I started thinking of a spring reset, to be honest with you, is I started doing this assessment of like where my life was going, and I could see it flashing before me very quickly. And I didn't like the path that I was on. I just simply was like, this is not what I see is not what I like. And that in me started thinking about like, okay, so you're cluttered. And I was cluttered because I was exhausted. And you can't make good decisions. I heard someone else actually say that. They said whenever they have to make a decision, they never do it in that moment when it's important. They think about it because we often make really important decisions on hand, like in a quick time. And sometimes these are life altering things that you have to process and be like, where am I going? Where have I been? Does this suit me? But I think like time is a luxury. They say that. And that is the truth. Like time can be a luxury, but meditation really, you're so right. It really does center you. And I am the first person to say I am not good at having a schedule every day. But I do think that when I know that I need to make decisions, I at least think about, okay, what's this reset I'm on? What's this path assessment I'm doing? And then I try to take as much time away to just be with myself and think about how I feel about things before I present them to other people. I'll talk to God about it and be like, Jesus, help me, Lord. I'm
But that's
struggling.
great though. That's so important. And it's like a lot of people will make the excuse, like, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the time. Think about it like what you care about and what you make time for is what matters to you. And if it matters, you'll make the time. And also knowing your personality and how you work, you can like hack yourself. Like in my case, I do well. I'm like ADHD. I do well with lists. So you can best believe that my planner is written out what daily tasks I need to do for 3 to 6 months from today. And I'm
Mm,
talking 7 days a week,
Wow.
talking about cleaning the bathroom or, you know, grocery shopping, turning in my, whatever it is. Like I have it listed. I have it right here, in fact, because this is how someone like me, I want to wake up and have a carefree day. So it's like I know if I wake up, here's an example. It's like I wake up and I'm like I want to, you know, there's no work, no school. It's
Cool.
vacation. It's like Pilates,
cool.
supplements, oil hands, hair tea, baseball practice. These are, it's all menial little stuff, right? But when you have this, you wake up with a guide every day. I don't ever have to wake up and be like, what am I doing today? Or
Mm,
if I don't want to do the things, I push them off to another day. But it's just a feeling of, okay, I did what I can, and listen to your body when you need to rest, because that's something I didn't do for many years. I just tried to be the most productive person I could be every day, all the time. And you can't, because your body will not allow you to go on and go on and go on with no rest period year after year after year. So you got to listen to your body and become in tune with yourself. When you listen to your body and you find the time to become kinder to yourself, you will find that other people are kinder to you as well. And what you tolerate will kind of create a stricter boundary. And then you will have a happy life because you know that you do what you need to do on your end, and you only tolerate love. Like if you're coming with anything but love, you got to take it
Right.
elsewhere.
Right.
right,
Right.
right.
And
And I think to deal with regret too, you do have to practice a lot of self-love.
yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking about is as you move forward in life to reach those lofty goals that you have set for yourself, because some people, whether they're listening to us now or they're going to listen to us later in life, or down the
In the
road 6 months,
future.
whatever.
They all gonna be listening.
That's right, that's right. You may have a big regret, like a big one, and let me give you an example of the one that came to my mind. Neil Simon, who is one of my favorite playwrights, I have a few favorite playwrights, but he's one of them. As if you all know, Neil Simon wrote The Odd Couple. So he was saying one day that once he wrote it and it was first to play, it had success. Of course, it picked up in success, but he did not realize that it was going to be as successful as it was. And I guess he gave the rights to a television studio for, I mean,
Ooh, a
I mean,
penny.
really next to nothing compared to what he
Mm,
ended, what the show ended up making. And he said, this is a YouTube video, so anybody can go on and look at it. And he said, I regret that.
I'm sure. I'm sure that he
Woo!
did.
I mean, that's one of the things, guys, about going forward in life to reach those lofty goals.
And then
There,
something like that happens to you.
so talk to us about how
Right.
somebody would move past millions of dollars,
Right.
Rach.
So if
Millions.
that's for me, like I would have to frame that. Like say that was me, right? I'm framing that as I'm going to live. So first of all, if something's taken from me, something better's coming. That's the first thing. And people might think that money is the greatest thing, but we might have seen like turmoil in this family after having millions of dollars. Or so it's like you can't look at it as all bad, because that's step one, is looking at it as a neutral person. Do not judge the events that happen in your life. Don't judge them. If something great happens, if something bad happens, don't judge it. It's okay to feel excitement. It's okay to feel sadness because we're human, right? But that lingering feeling of energy, whether if it's good or bad, you gotta let things go. So it's like
What do you
that
mean
is a
when you say
terrible.
don't judge it? What do you mean? Go into
Don't
that a
judge
little
it.
bit.
So, like, here's an example. I smashed my toe on the exercise bike when I walk by, and
Oh,
usually I'd be like, "Oh,
no.
fuck you," like, and flipping out, right?
Yeah.
But I just smashed my toe, and instead of doing that, I just hold my toe and I'd be like, reset.
Yeah.
And then go on with my day. But or even like traffic, road rage, or even if it's good things. It's great to feel great, but you also don't keep yourself as close to a neutral standpoint or good. Like if you're feeling good, it's okay to keep yourself feeling good. But don't judge things, just like don't judge others. Like any event that happens to you, oh, this asshole cut me off. So it must mean that I'm just a shitty person and I'm having bad karma. It's like stop thinking in this way, and instead of just thinking like, okay, he must be in a rush, stop judging others, stop judging ourselves. And it also comes back to knowing when you're doing your best self. It's just like when you were a little kid and somebody said, try your best, try your best. When you were a little kid, you knew when you were trying your best and when you weren't. And so as an adult, that sense is still there. And when you're trying your best, you get to where you want to be. If there is a blockage, then that sometimes needs to be dug deeper, right? Like if your traumas are too large for you to make it past where you're at mentally, that's when you need to seek out a therapist. That's when you need to seek out people like me who we heal you from the inside out. And then your physical world starts to reflect your internal world because that's how things work. As within, so without. As above, so below. You know what I mean? And we're all interconnected. Us, nature, all the other people. We are one collective consciousness. When we hurt somebody else, we hurt ourselves. And when you, and it goes deeper than religion, but how they be like, love, love thy neighbor and stuff. It really comes down to all we need is love. Like that was like probably a Beatles song or something. Like all we need is love. And it's so true because think about how joyous life would be if every interaction you had with another human being, you knew they were coming with love.
Yeah.
And I think that is powerful. And I think that's going to be my souvenir from today is just like letting things go. I'm working on that on the road because I'm not going to lie. I feel like it's a lesson for me. I tend to get people that I feel like you're coming at me kind of strong here in the way you're driving. You just cut me off. I'm not happy with this. This is like a moment. And my mom always gets mad. I won't say who the person is, but there is this person when I was younger and they had road rage. And my mom's always like, Mariah, I'm telling you, you need to stop that. Not that I'm like out here cursing people out. I'm not doing that. But I do get annoyed with people when they cut people off. But I think that I often connect it to just life in general. You cannot control other people and you have to let things go. I had an instance this morning, my aunt can tell you, where I was like, this is a let go moment. And I wasn't letting go. I was like, I'm stuck. I'm in this glitch mode. I can't let this go.
I believe that people are coming with love. I don't use those exact words, Rachel, but those are the perfect words. I will take that as a souvenir, right, from my moments today. I have said that to Mariah many times. Don't think someone's coming for you. I think coming for me is one of probably the worst words in our vocabulary now is who's coming for me, because everybody thinks somebody's coming for them. Maybe nobody's coming for you.
Well, another thing too is like, look at your own personality too. Like Mariah, you're so nice. You're smiling at people. They're thinking, oh, she's nice. She's soft. Keep a straight face when you have conversations with people.
I agree with you. No, I agree because I have heard people say, oh, you're really nice. And I always preface it with like, I try to be because I'm human. I have my nice moments and I have my not nice moments where I'm like, ooh, shouldn't have said that. Could have said that differently. Or I'm just not being nice right now. But I do think that people, like, when they think you're nice, they think that they can snow you. And and they think you're a doormat and they think you're dumb too. Like they don't think that you're actually sitting there being like, I know what's happening in this moment. Like I understand what's coming about. But I do think like that's also confidence. I'll be honest with you. Like part of my conformity in the world has been like, if you smile, it'll make things better. And
everything's accepting if you smile, right?
Yes.
And it's like, as a woman, I agree. Like sometimes we're still stuck in this era where it's like, people don't take women seriously. So it's like, let me not smile at you while I'm delivering this message because you need to do the message, not the delivery. Like,
Okay. Somebody oh my gosh. I heard somebody say this not that long ago. Why does everyone expect a woman to be smiling whenever she does something? That is so true. I mean, it drives me crazy. Men think that they can comment on our behavior, on
Oh, I
our
know that they
And
would
face.
be
they
like, smile
do.
more.
This
I
guy
hate
said some,
that.
this guy said to me
Do.
yesterday when I was in Dunkin' Donuts. Now, first of all, I did take a little bit of offense because I didn't think that the girl serving everybody whatever what was coming toward me with some love. She had two orders in her hands of hash browns. So she goes hash browns, and there were two women, a young one and an old one, standing there, and they were about ready to grab the bags. Now here I was standing over to the side, which is where everybody stands that has been waiting for a while. So I said to the woman, though one of those is mine. So she went through this grill with me. Well, what's your number on your ticket? I don't have a number on my ticket. I didn't take the receipt. That's mine. I was here longer.
Yeah.
Well, what's the number on your cup? Now I'm running late for work. So I was
Hold
like,
on, we're gonna get cut off soon.
oh, we are? Okay, so
Yeah.
let me make it quick. Anyway, this guy comments on my behavior as I'm leaving. I wanted to turn around and say, thanks, Dad. Why do men always think that they have the right to comment on our facial expression? I
Yeah.
mean, I used to hear someone,
Like we were made for their gaze. Like we were
yeah,
made to be
Yes.
oh,
using
why
them.
don't you smile, girl? Why don't you smile, girl? Here comes the finger. Okay.
No question.
I
No.
wasn't made to make you smile. Okay.
I
That's
really
not why
hate
God put me on this planet. Okay.
that is a very
know
valid
what?
point. I really hate to say this, but I think we may get cut off at 12 p.m.
So
if we
Rachel, tell
do-
everybody again how they can reach you then.
Yes, so anybody who's interested in like booking a session, if you want to be healed with my quantum abilities, I have the YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/Ray, RAIIE. Same thing with the Instagram at Ray, RAIIE, and that's it. And I can't wait for the next time. This has been so fun.
This has been really fun. I hope we don't get cut off. You all are making valid points. I agree. We're on this earth to be us. Like, I'm not a smiling
Yeah.
board. But thank you so much, Ray, Rachel. Those are so many good souvenirs. So much to think about as always.
Right. Thank you,
Well,
Rach.
I love you guys so much.
Love you. Love you.
On the next
Bye.
one.
Thanks
Thank
everybody
you
for
to
joining
everybody who
us.
listens to us and who will listen to us. And if you have questions, something you want to share, send them over. You know my number. You know my aunt's number. And we'll
Yes, ma'am.
bring them up on the next one.
Right.
All right.
Bye.
sounds great.
Love you. Love you.
Bye.
Bye,
Love
everybody.
you.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.